Okay, so now we have our looms ready to go. We're going to start weaving, and it takes a little bit of getting used to. Once you do it the first couple times, it'll be a lot easier. So I want to make sure that you see it done here. We sent everyone these plastic weaving needles, which are really safe to use for all ages. They're totally made of plastic. They're not really pointy at the end, and they have these extra big eyes at the end, so it's easier for you and for the students to string your yarn through. You should tell the kids to go to the yarn table, choose a color that they want, and snip off between 3 and 6 feet. And they'll get used to the lengths that they'll want as they work, but I'll give you a little preview. So this little dark red piece right here, which is about 1/2 inch wide, this was 3 feet long, the original yarn piece. This here was 6 feet long. This was probably 4 feet long. So again, the length of yarn that you choose to begin with is going to determine the width of that color on your final piece. So I'm just starting with blue, and I think I cut off 4 feet of this. And you want to start, it doesn't have to be exact, but you don't want to start at the very top right here. You need a little bit of extra space of twine at the end. So I'm going to start about 2 inches from the top edge. So I'm going to start about here. And you're just going to have the students do the over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under action with their needle. And then they're just going to pull that first piece of yarn through. And I want you to notice, if you can see it, I didn't tie the yarn at this end. I just have about 5 inches dangling off the end right there. Okay, and I'm going to pull that through. Again, I'm going to start about 2 inches down, and I want to leave about 5 inches or so free at the end here. You're going to need this piece later when we finish the tapestry, so don't pull this all the way through. Leave that 5 inches at the end. So I got to this end, and I'm just going to go back the other way. So this piece is under the twine, so I'm going to make sure that I'm now going over. And then under the next one. Over, under, over, under. So again, if this piece was over, your next piece is going to be under. So it's always going to be an alternating over-under pattern. Whoops. Don't pull too tight, because then your piece is going to be a little bit lopsided. Okay. And again, just so you can see, this isn't tied at the end at all. And then, so this is under right here, which means for the next piece I'm going to go over. And they'll get a lot quicker as they get used to it. And you can see that as I'm pulling the pieces through, I'm also really gently pushing them up. And I'll do one more go through, and then I'll just do it off camera. So if you want to get close up, but there you go. You're going to push it up a little bit, and as you do more, the white twine is going to start disappearing. But that's the first little bit. I'll finish with the rest of this 4 inches, and I'll show you what it looks like. So I'm almost done with that first piece of blue yarn, and again, as you go, you just use your fingertips to gently push it up, and then again, I want to leave about 4 to 5 inches off the end, so I'm not going to finish off that length of yarn. So I'm just going to pull off my needle and just leave it dangling. You're going to have to fix that at the end when you finish your whole tapestry. So there's my first piece of blue. Then you can have your students keep on going either with the same color or a different color, whatever they choose. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to do the Ryu, or the fluff embellishments. This is totally optional. I'll show what it looks like on this piece right here. So it's this part where you kind of have the yarn fuzz. And it's kind of just an extra fancy detail that the students can have. They don't have to do it, but I'll show you how to do it just in case they want to. And it is on the instruction sheet, and it works fine the way they have it there. So they're just gonna pick a color. I chose white and cut about 4 inches of that white yarn and cut several of them. So cut about 10 to start. And then they're going to form a U shape. This is kind of hard to see. And tuck it under that first string like that. Take the other end, tuck it under here, pull it up and tight right there. So that's one of your fluff pieces. Take the second one, fold it into a U shape, and my first one was wrapped around the first 2 pieces of twine, and now I'm going to wrap it around the next 2, so the 3rd and 4th pieces of twine. Tuck it under, tuck it under, so pull that together. Okay, so that's my second piece, and then I'll just do the 3rd piece for you. Okay. You pull it tight, and you're going to keep on repeating that pattern all the way across. So now I have 5 pieces right there. Then for the next one, here's where it gets a little bit complicated. You're still going to do alternating pieces. So if I started with these 2 strings for my first one, and then alternated all the way across, for my second row of Ryu, I'm going to use these 2 strings. So now I'm starting with my 2nd and 3rd pieces of string. So I want you to see that. So when I pull up and push it up, okay, it's going to kind of fill in that spot right there. Let's do one more, just for good measure. So I was right here with that other row. Now I'm going to be right here with this one. Okay, and you just keep on going like that. You keep that pattern, and then so when I start my 3rd row, I'm going to go back to these first 2 strings right here. Again, it seems a little bit complicated, but once the students keep on doing it, they'll get the pattern. So now I'm going to show you how to start finishing your piece once you have the length done. So here's one I started before. This part's actually really complicated. It's going to take a good half an hour for the kids to finish this. So they definitely need their last day to do the finishing touches on their tapestry, and most of the last day to do the finishing touches. So remember how when we were weaving, and we kept saying you want to leave about 4 to 5 inches of the colored yarn at the end? Well, you're going to have to get rid of them because we can't have them dangling. It's going to look really messy for your finished piece. And this is how you actually hide them. So you'll see I already did it over here because these are all clean. what you have to do is now rethread that extra length of yarn into your needle and weave it back into the piece so that this end comes out on the reverse side. So that's a little bit complicated. So again, I just put the yarn back on my needle. I'm going to weave it back into the tapestry. It doesn't have to be exact, it's going to be camouflaged anyway. And then I'm going to pull it through. You could see the needle coming out the back side. So that extra length is going to come out on the back, and then once we're done doing this for all of the pieces of leftover yarn, we're going to knot those off on the back side. I'll show you that too. But you'll see here, now it's all clean. So you have to keep on doing that with the remaining pieces, and there are a lot of them on both sides. So we're almost done. We're going to go to the last step now where we finish the tapestry. This is kind of exciting. We're going to go to the back, and you just go ahead and cut off the twine at either end. Kind of cut off these pieces too, make them a little bit shorter and easier to work with. Okay, and that should release the string from the loom. You actually might want to go a couple at a time rather than releasing all the strings at once, because what we're going to do now to hold the yarn in place is tie off these ends. And it's going to create little tassels out of that twine. So the last step I have to do, or the second to last step, is to fix all of these excess pieces on the back. So remember, they were on the edges right here, and then we had you weave them through the tapestry and then through the back side so that they were now hanging through the back. Now we have to knot them off so they're not dangling through the back, and then cut them. So I'll just show you an example. I've already done some here. You can see the little nubbins there. But take this excess piece, loop it onto itself to create a little bit of a knot. Don't pull too hard, because then you're going to ruin the shape of your tapestry. Okay, just tighten it gently and then cut it, and do it for all the rest of them. Okay, so I just finished knotting off the loose ends on the back. You could see those little bumpy parts are the loose ends that I knotted. And this is, in effect, your finished piece. I'm going to turn this into a little wall hanging, and I want it to hang this way. So I will cut these off a little bit. Okay, so here is my finished piece. Again, depending on what you want to use it for, you can tie your ends a little bit differently. So if you want to just have it as a coaster, so it's flat on the table, you just make little tassels right here. You actually probably make it a little bit shorter. Or another choice you have is to make a wall hanging, which is what I turned this one into. And so you could just have your students find sticks outside, or you could cut a small piece of bamboo skewer for them, and then you would tie the twine to this and have a little part that's used for hanging. So hold it up so you can actually have a little bit of wall art right there. Okay, so that is, again, our finished piece, which will take the students 3 periods at least, and you might actually have to go into a couple of the last few lessons where you're watching the film. They could just do this as they watch the film, and that's totally fine. Okay, so that's it.